Yeah.
Right. Hi, Sam. I'm talking today with Sam Skinner, ultra runner and insole ambassador for Superfeet. How are you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Matt.
That's all right. It's all right. Again, the question I always ask ultra runner is why.
Well, yeah, I think that is the question, and that's sort of, why we do what we do. Ultra in itself isn't a distance. There's not a specified distance. It's just more than a marathon, and I think we just sort of, as ultra runners, we keep changing the goalposts and keep working on ourselves, and it's that whole can I, or will I last, or can I keep going, and that's what keeps us coming back for all
Yeah.
these big efforts, and I've sort of shown that over the last sort of 5-6 years of taking up this sport properly, and it's the how far can we go,
Yeah, I mean things like people who run usually start off in the five, then go, kind of 20K, half marathons. How did and then a full marathon. Did you always run, or was it something you came to?
So yeah, I've my original background was football and boxing. After football, I had a few years out, so the fitness was there. I lost it in a few of the years, which yeah, I've sort of discussed on other podcasts. But I went back to it, and I was just that classic case of sort of 5 and 10K trying to regain my fitness. I put on quite a lot of weight when I gave up the boxing. And yeah, I haven't looked back. So I sort of signed up to a 10K, all road running to start
Yeah.
with, and then found my love of the trails on a run with someone I met in 2017
All right. Okay.
called Ian,
Hmm.
and yeah, I haven't looked back. It's sort of keep sort of moving the goalposts.
Well, it seems like you're not too bad at it because was it
Mm,
you came second in the Centurion Winter Downs 200 in
that's it.
was it December 23?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was leading for most of the race, which means nothing. But and then yeah, just like I say, we're always learning and moving these goalposts, and with that comes sometimes hard lessons, And
Yeah.
I had enough time at one stage. I think I was 9 miles ahead
Hmm.
um, of the eventual winner, and I chose not to sleep. I was a
Hmm.
bit of a rookie error, and yeah, I should have swapped my gaiters when they were getting tight. I had a niggle at about 130, 140
Hmm.
miles. Um, and so yeah, they're the woulda, shoulda, couldas, and yeah, eventually caught up. But I was game second. I carried on.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a death march, but yeah, learned a lot. So
Yeah.
that's all you can do, isn't it? Just keep.
Yeah. And you recently competed in the Montane Winter Spine Race,
Yep.
where you finished eighth overall. How did that go?
Yeah, it was again moving the goalposts a little bit more for that one.
Yeah.
It was sort of signed up to in October. Yeah, I got an opportunity to take part in the race. So yeah, it was again, chuffed to get a top 10 performance. I was up there with the sharp end, um, towards the end. I dropped back a couple of places, but again, you know, to me, with the Winter Downs was a 200-mile race, and
Yeah.
I wasn't running really at the end. I was sort of shuffling, whereas
Yeah.
the spine I was running to the end. So, and
Yeah.
it was an extra 70 odd miles. So
Mm.
to me, that's we're progressing, and
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah, my best is yet to come on this journey.
Do you have a race that you want to target? Do you have like a something that you kind of you want to get to?
Yeah, I think these big efforts are appealing to me. The sort of barren, napping on the trails, lengthy races are what get my juices flowing.
Yeah.
Ones where you're out there, and um, it's your mind and trying to get you through. I think so. Yeah, in answer to your question, definitely going to revisit the spine at some point. Tour de Jance, maybe races like that are big efforts, sort of 300k plus. And yeah, and mix it up really. I mean, running for me is an escapism, and it's getting out of the rat race. That's how it started. It was for my mental health, and so these big races that take you out away from society almost is what that's why I run. So in answer to your question, big efforts, my bag.
Yeah. How does your training go? I mean, how many hours do you have to put in, miles a week?
Yeah, good question. It varies, and again, we're saying that you're learning as you go, and I'm a sponge, and I know my body now. Your coach or you might put in a week's worth of work into training peaks of what you're going to do on that week, and then you might pick up a cold or you might not sleep. So it's about listening to your body. I've got my key sessions that I do. I've shared them before, and I think the key for me, especially if you can, unless they're in like Australia and things like that, is recceing the course as well, getting out on the course. I said to you just then, I signed up for the spine in October, okay, and I managed to recce the entire course before January. So you got to be dedicated and just do what you can really and enjoy it whilst you're doing it. I recceed a lot of it alone. And got up there and got in amongst it, because there's parts of that race where, talking about the spine, where you're going to be alone, so you want to mimic that. And I think that's really important.
And things like nutrition while you're training, and then nutrition leading up to the race, and also while you're racing, how do you keep fueling yourself?
Yeah, good question, especially over those distances. I've lucky enough to get supported by Precision Hydration, so I use a lot of their products, a lot of the gels and chews. However, once you start getting into day 2 and 3, your palate changes. So you mix in with that some savory foods and bars and really trying to mix that food intake along with your electrolytes and salt. So I've done quite a lot of work with Precision, so I've sort of know my numbers. But as ever, it's when you're 3 days deep into the spine and you're trying to get a gel down, it's quite hard. So there's lots of little tricks that that we've learned along the way to try and get those calories in. So
now another important thing, obviously the mental side of things is kind of one of the biggest things you have to get right and keep yourself going. Do you set yourself little aims as you go along?
Yeah, you try and break the race down a bit, especially if there's a checkpoint. I keep going back to the spine because it's the most recent race I've done, but particularly in that race, your checkpoints are quite far apart, sort of 100k in some places. So I think it's important not to just keep thinking about getting to the end. It's right, let's get to that checkpoint, and plan. I'm going to have that at that checkpoint. For instance, middle of the race is Alston. There's lasagna there. So I was sort of really excited to get to Alston and see how many plates of lasagna I could have. And I think it's important just to break it down mentally. It doesn't matter how you do it, and each ultra runner will be different. But for me, I try and smile at the pain as well. When I'm in pain, I try and smile with it, and look forward to the checkpoint and reassess and be adaptable. Being adaptable in these ultras is key. It won't always be plain sailing. You might trip over on a rock or smack your knee, but it's try and take that into your mental side and say, right, well, that was meant to happen. We dealt with, we'll deal with that. It wasn't in the script, but it's happened. Do you see what I mean? And it's just important that you think like that, because if you start getting negative in these ultras, poor me, poor this. You
Yeah.
know, everyone's in the same boat, and they're all
Yeah.
gonna hit their lulls at different times. So it's just really important to practice digesting that.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think you can be quite progressive as an ultra runner. The minute you start being downbeat and, you know, feeling sorry for yourself and things like that, you know, you
Yeah.
signed up to it. You've got to enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enjoy the
Indeed.
pain.
Yeah. And talking of pain and alleviating pain, obviously, you use Superfeet insoles. Why did you kind of decide to put in a new insole into shoes?
Yeah, so I sort of stumbled across Superfeet. I, you know, at the start of my journey, I was having a few issues with my arch in my foot. I've got quite a, it's not a high arch, it's sort of medium, which would go on to what I use in a minute. But and I tried various different brands, and you know, someone suggested you know, new insoles. You know, and
Yeah.
I know they do all these custom fit ones now as well. But I I literally stumbled across Superfeet and thankfully tried their blue medium arch,
Yeah.
which is the one I swear by now, and
Yeah.
I recommend it to anyone. But people's arches and feet are different. But for me, the proof is in the pudding. You know,
Yeah.
I've done a couple of Dragons back races.
Yeah.
I've done the Winter Downs, which you touched on, the spine. These are big efforts, you
Yeah.
know. And if I'm not necessarily not having a blister, but if my feet aren't moving, you know, side to side,
Yeah.
you know, and causing pain, then something's working. So,
Yeah.
you know, I finished all these races
Yeah.
and finished them quite well. So I can't recommend them highly enough.
I mean,
Um,
do you go through a couple in a race, or are they just they last the race?
they last the race, yeah. They
Yeah.
last, yeah. Training, you know, I'll probably get the amount I run. I'm doing up before races up to you know 100+ miles a week, and they'll probably last me a good few months.
Yeah.
And I like to wear them in as well. I like to
Hmm.
wear them in training and then take the same
Yeah.
pairs of insoles. So I'll alternate my insoles so that if I'm in a big effort race where I take two pairs of shoes, I'll have I'll have two pairs of insoles that I've broken in. I won't just wear them fresh,
Hmm.
you know,
Right. So
because
do you
you get
yeah.
indentations in them
Hmm.
slightly, which
Yeah.
it's important for them to fit your feet.
Do you use different insoles for training to running, or do you just use the same insole?
I use the same insole,
Yeah.
believe it or not. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know when you just get comfortable with something,
Yeah.
and obviously the more you know, the more I do this sport and the more people I speak to, they're like, oh, have you, you know, try this, try that, and try. But sometimes I think you can spend a lot of time trying lots of different things, which is, you know, good. But why change something if it's
Yeah.
working? So I've always sworn by Superfeet, and I'm
Yeah.
quite open about that.
Yeah. So if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the one I was trying to find. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the next race for you? What are you looking forward to next?
So yeah, I've just got back training.
Mhm.
Touch wood, everything's still intact and
Yeah.
working okay. I've done a few hill sessions the last week and a half. Um, I've got a couple of entries. One for the UTS 100 mile, which is in May. So we're
Yeah.
just gonna, along with my coach, we're gonna just see how I am in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Try and get out for a few big mountain days, which is key before that race. Um, and see how my body reacts. Sometimes you can have a little bit of
Yeah.
delayed fatigue after a race like the spine. Um, so yeah, UTS 100 miles 50-50 at the moment. And then I might look at something like Top Dret in September
Yeah.
out out there. And then who knows, I might have a return to the spine in
Yeah.
January. But between there, I'll have a few races that
Yeah.
a few sharpen up races that I call them. But yeah, I just enjoy running and I
Yeah.
enjoy the training, and yeah, it's big part of my life. So
Brilliant. Well, more power to you, and I hope you keep on running and keep going. And
thanks,
it's
Mark.
been great speaking to you.
No, I really appreciate
Thanks, Sam.
having me on. Cheers, Mark.
Yeah.